Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our abdominal bloating and that embarrassing gas. We're going to talk about the causes and some of the solutions. So today's presentation and talk is based off Dr. Jocker's article on abdominal bloating. Dr. Udani is here with us today, and she's going to be presenting for us. So we realize that there could be lots of questions, and Dr. Udani has made herself available by text. So her number is there at 416-525-4850, and feel free to reach out to her with any of your questions. So I wanted to welcome Dr. Udani today, and she is a licensed naturopathic doctor and here at the Justine Blaney Wellness Center. She did her clinical internship at the Brampton Civic Hospital, and she really specializes in a lot of areas, talking about women's health and skin conditions. She really can dig deep into chronic pain and digestive issues, and really honestly about stress. And we're all under an awful lot of stress. I can actually contest that she is incredibly patient and wonderful practitioner to be able to see. She really listens and has some incredible insights and guidance. So she really genuinely believes that everyone has the ability to make healthy and long-lasting changes. Please help me welcome Dr. Udani.
Thank you, Angela. Hi, everybody. Good evening. So before we jump into the event and the talk, we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming webinars. So we have what is cranial sacral therapy coming up with Dr. Linda Finn and Dr. Justine. We're also going to be talking about sinus congestion, everything about feeling stuffy, in your nose and trouble sleeping. All those things will be covered by myself. We're also going to have spring clean, so your body and your home, understanding the toxins all around us and what we can do about it with Dr. Justine and myself. And we're also going to have another talk on decoding the diabetes dilemma with Dr. Justine. So today's talk is about abdominal bloating, causes and symptoms, and what we can do to reduce that bloat. So what is bloating? So a lot of us can be feeling bloated pretty much, at least at one point in our lives. We might have had a really huge meal or ate something that kind of didn't sit well with us and our stomach just ballooned. And it's very uncomfortable. You're sitting, you want to, unzip your pants, unbutton it. And it's not something that you want to feel for every day. And you'd be surprised at how many people actually feel bloated constantly. And that doesn't have to actually be your norm. It's not actually normal to feel that bloated all the time. So we're going to go down into talking about more about the causes and what we can do about that. So there's one of the aspects of that wow, I can't speak today. One of the things that can contribute to bloating is a certain kind of food. So for example, things that are hard for our system to digest, so such as, legumes, and a lot of times, cruciferous vegetables. So things like broccoli, cauliflower, onions. Sometimes people have trouble digesting as well. And of course, if you have a sensitivity to gluten, for example, wheat contains a lot of gluten as well. Dairy sensitivities, low stomach acid, so hard to digest those red meats and the proteins and the fats, and poor bile flow, which is really needed for absorbing our fats. So these are some of the contributors that can cause the gas and the bloating. So 5 main causes of bloating. So first one we're going to talk about is low stomach acid. Then we're going to go into poor gallbladder function and what that means. Then we're going to do developing a bacterial overgrowth, which can be a really common symptom or common cause of bloating. We also have overgrowth of candida, and I'm going to go down to what is candida, as well as we're going to talk about food sensitivities. So let's start with food sensitivities and what's the main difference between that and food allergy. So food allergy is something that's gonna kind of develop since you were a baby, and it's very immediate reactions. You're gonna get hives, rashes, or even trouble breathing. So think about a peanut allergy. So that is a food allergy, whereas the food sensitivity can actually develop at any age, and it's actually more common than a food allergy. And these reactions are more delayed. So you might have eaten, for example, let's say gluten, so it's a bread, and you'll feel bloated. You might feel a little foggy, like fatigued, hard for you to remember things. But it takes a while for that to kind of come. It's not very immediate. So it can be up to 72 hours after eating certain kind of foods. So food sensitivities can be tested by an IgG food sensitivity testing that I myself can order, or another holistic healthcare practitioner. So it's important to kind of see where some of your food sensitivities might be, because that could be a reason for the bloating. So let's talk a little bit about low stomach acid and what could be possibly causing that, and of course, H. pylori. So H. pylori is a bacteria that lives in the stomach. It can withstand the stomach acid, and it is this it's shaped like a corkscrew. It kind of burrows into the stomach lining and just kind of lives there. A lot of people, when they have too much of this H. pylori, so they have an infection of that, they get all these symptoms that can mimic bloating. So mimic bloating and any kind of abdominal upset. So things like abdominal pain, lots of gas, even heartburn, sometimes nausea, irritable bowels, lots of bloating, constant bad breath, for example, and anemia, because, we need enough stomach acid in order to digest iron. And what sometimes H. pylori does is it lowers your stomach acid. So these are all symptoms that could relate to an H. pylori infection. And if we talk more about bacterial overgrowth, a lot of the times this happens in our small intestine. So our gut consists of the small intestine and the large intestine. Small intestine is, that huge, kind of looks like all those tubes, those little tubes, that's the small intestine. And the large intestine is what kind of goes around almost like your abdomen. So a lot of the bacteria actually lives in the large intestine, and the small intestine it's pretty clean. It doesn't really have a lot of those bacterial organisms. But what happens when with bacterial overgrowth is there is some of this bacteria that's living in the large intestine kind of spills over into the small intestine. And the small intestine is not prepared for all of these bacteria. So when they live there, they're going to grow and multiply and produce a lot of gas and a lot of toxins. So because a lot of our food is kind of digested in the small intestine, that's like free food for the bacteria too. So it's going to just feed on that and produce lots of gas and lots of stomach cramps. A lot of, you might even hear gurgling, and sometimes it could be constipation or diarrhea. So these could all be signs of a bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine. So this is some warning signs of a bacterial, yeast, or parasitic overgrowth, because our digestive system doesn't just have bacteria living in it. We're a rainforest of all of these microorganisms called yeast and parasites, and you would be surprised at how many people actually have a low-grade parasites in our bodies, even though you think that's mostly in the developing world, or if you go travel, you might contract parasites. But actually, even in Canada and the US, there's a lot of parasites that kind of still that we come into contact with, especially through the water source or contaminated foods, fecal oral route. When we go camping and we have lake water, for example, there's parasites that are there that we can be ingested. So some of the symptoms of all of these bacterial parasitic overgrowths is, you get chronic digestive issues. So either chronic constipation or diarrhea. You're tired all the time because, these little guys aren't just staying there, right? They're releasing all these toxins into your body. So you're going to feel tired because your brain's not functioning properly. Your memory issues, you might have teeth grinding because sometimes they actually get stuck in your jaw in the muscles, and it'll cause grinding there. You can get iron deficiency anemia because these parasites love to hoard iron from your body because they use iron to grow. You can have skin problems, rashes and hives, even acne, a lot of abdominal pain because they're releasing these toxins and they're like bombs, they're exploding all there. You get chronic pain because once they get through that gut lining, they can really go anywhere in the body. So it can deposit in the joints and cause inflammation. Poor memory, like I said, right? The brain, it gets tired from the release of all these toxins. You can get headaches, depression, because, the gut is where we produce almost 90% or 90 to 80% of serotonin, which is our feel-good neurotransmitter. You can get anxiety because of that too. Changes in appetite. You might feel really hungry for certain kind of foods or like just not hungry at all. So these are all warning signs. You might think this is normal, but this is not normal, right? You want to get this checked up before it progresses to something a little bit more serious and more lifelong. So 7 major functions of stomach acid. So we need just enough stomach acid, it's like Goldilocks. We don't want too much. We also don't want too little. So just enough stomach acid really helps to sterilize the food. So our stomach can handle a very high acidity. So by by when the food first comes into contact with the stomach acid, it's going to kill any kind of bacteria or bugs or organisms that are on there if it is at the right level. It helps with digesting protein. It helps that by activating an enzyme called pepsin. So pepsin, it's like a little Pac-Man that kind of comes and, eats up the protein. It helps digest it. It activates something called intrinsic factors. So this is really important for B12 absorption in the body. It helps to stimulate bile and other digestive enzymes. And it actually, adequate amounts of stomach acid is very important to close the sphincter and the esophagus. So a lot of people that have heartburn, they actually have low stomach acid, right? Because they're taking a lot of acid blockers or, things like, things that kind of cancel the acid out. And by doing that, they're actually not really helping their heartburn, because low stomach acid is going to keep that valve open. You need the optimal amount of stomach acid to kind of tell your body to close that valve. And enough stomach acid is needed to opening up the bottom valve, which is where it kind of goes into the small intestine. And let's talk a little bit about bile too. So this is another fluid that's produced in the body. It's produced in the liver and then stored in the gallbladder. And bile is what helps you digest fats. Okay, it's going to break down the fats into smaller particles so that the body can absorb it. It actually binds to a lot of toxins too, so that it gets eliminated from the body. It is antimicrobial, it kills bacteria, and it helps with blood sugar levels as well. So these are some causes of low stomach acid. So some things we've touched. So there's chronic stress will reduce your stomach acid, because think about when you're stressed, you're kind of on go, right? You're not really thinking about sitting down and enjoying a meal with your family. And when we don't give our body that time to kind of have that meal and like sit down, it doesn't have enough time to release enough stomach acid. And over time, what happens is chronic stress kind of blunts that stomach acid release. It's one of the other things that I always talk about is that's why chronic stress can be so hard on the body, because you're reducing the stomach acid. It's wear and tear as well. And H. pylori, like I mentioned, can actually reduce your stomach acid so that it can kind of survive for longer. It can stay, in this nice, free, real estate area stomach and keep producing. Aging, the older you get, we produce less stomach acid. This is, just something, that as we get older, our body starts to functioning starts to kind of go down a little. And of course, zinc deficiency can also cause low stomach acid. A lot of people that have zinc deficiency can actually have a little bit of a bitter taste, or like they notice their sense of taste is different. So that could be a sign of zinc deficiency. And food sensitivities can also cause, to a certain extent, low stomach acid. And of course, all of this information you can get for free from Dr. Jocker. So we're using his this article from him. And that's why we want to honor all of this information from him. So some of the at-home stomach acid testings, we're going to go more into detail, but something like steak test is where you have just a big, reasonable amount of steak, and you notice if you feel super full, super bloated, and crampy, because that means you probably you don't have enough stomach acid to break down that protein. Another thing you can do is called baking soda stomach acid test. So this is where, first thing in the morning, you take about 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in about 4 to 6 ounces of cold water first thing in the morning, and then you drink it. And if you notice you burp within the first 5 minutes, then you have a good adequate amount of stomach acid. So that's how they say it, because the baking soda neutralizes the stomach acid, so it has a chemical reaction, and you produce this gas as a result. So if you're able to burp within the 5 minutes, then most likely your stomach acid is fine. But if it takes you longer, then you might be low in stomach acid. So that's something to kind of test at home. And the other one is the betaine HCl test. So this is more to kind of see if, what you're going to do is you're going to have a meal, and then you're going to take this capsule. It's a supplement called betaine HCl. And when you take it, afterwards, you kind of watch out to see, do you feel like a burning sensation? Do you feel a lot of cramping? A lot of, digestive issues? That could also mean you have enough stomach acid. Okay, so those are 3 tests that you can do. You could just do one to kind of see how you feel in terms of stomach acid. And these are some of the symptoms of poor bile flow. Okay, so when our gallbladder is having trouble kind of releasing that bile, or when our liver is tired, you're gonna not be able to release a lot of bile, right? And so what happens is the fat that we eat doesn't get absorbed. So when the fat doesn't get absorbed, it kind of passes through the intestines, and it can really cause diarrhea. The bacteria will feed on the fat, and you get this bad smell because they release all this gas as a result. And you can have trapped gas. There's a lot of stomach cramps. You might even get weight loss because you're not absorbing the fat. And fat is actually important. The good healthy fat is important for a lot of functions in the body. And if you don't have that, you're going to get weight loss. And in an unhealthy way. You might also notice pale colored stool. That's another sign to see if you're absorbing fat or not, because bile actually gives stool some of its color. So if you're not having enough bile flow, the fat's just going to kind of go through. You don't get that digestion. Greasy floating stools, sometimes erratic bowel movements, so needed to go to the washroom, 3-4 times a day. And so these are some of the signs to look out for to see if you have poor bile flow. And some of the at-home tests, and this is from Dr. Jockers, you can try a fat bomb test. So this is having, a fat protein fat bomb that I believe his article, if you read it, you can see the recipe. And then you notice if you have an adverse reaction. You notice, do you have a lot of bloating, a lot of cramps, do you get diarrhea? So that could signify poor bile flow. There's also reflexology and meridian center. So this is more to do with traditional Chinese medicine as acupuncture. So the gallbladder channel runs kind of almost all through your body. So you can notice in this picture, right by your shoulder, almost like right in this point is a point for gallbladder. And this is actually a lot of, sorry, I meant to say right side. If you notice a lot of right-sided shoulder pain, that could be a gallbladder issue, because the gallbladder actually has something called referral pain. So every organ in our body, when it's kind of in trouble, it tends to refer pain to another part of the body. So for gallbladder, it is the right shoulder. So that is something to kind of get checked up. If you notice it, you didn't do anything, you didn't strain it, there's nothing really like that could have explained this pain, but it's still there. That might be because of some kind of gallbladder issue. So these are some things to look into. And yes, another one is the bile flow support test. So this is something that you could go more into detail at Dr. Jocker's article by reading that one. And then another cause for bloating and abdominal, a lot of gas, is poor pancreatic enzyme production. So the pancreas is kind of hidden, but it is a very important organ because it's what releases all of our digestive enzymes, that breaks down the food and makes sure that everything can be absorbed in the body. So when we don't produce enough of these enzymes, and think of them as little Pac-Man that kind of keep walking and keep, going everywhere, biting into the food and starting this reaction so that it can be digested. You get the gas, you get the bloating, diarrhea, constipation, a really bad, like if you eat a lot of high fiber foods, you might notice a lot of gas and a lot of bloating. And you can also have really bad reactions to high FODMAP foods. So FODMAPs are, these are kind of foods that, we tend to avoid in terms of if somebody has IBS or an IBD. So these are some things, if you are curious to come and talk to me, we could talk, just have a chat for, 15 minutes or so, just to kind of, so you understand what these foods are and what could be actually happening in the digestive system. Some of the at-home tests are the broccoli test you could try is eating a huge bowl of broccoli, a big bowl, and noticing if you have a lot of gas, a lot of bloating, a lot of cramping, because broccoli has, a lot of fiber and it needs to be broken down in order to be properly absorbed. Make sure it is a little bit lightly steamed, not like don't have super fresh broccoli too. And then we can also, there's a lot of functional testing we can do for digestive enzymes. So I always say do some comprehensive blood analysis. So what this means is there's specialized testings that me as a naturopathic doctor can order. We can also do blood work to see how your liver is functioning, how your bile flow is functioning. There's, it's really great because it kind of covers the whole picture of what's going on in the body in terms of your nutrition status, in terms of your organs, how they're functioning. And also in terms of, how is, are there any overgrowth of bacteria and overgrowth of parasites that we need to think about as well. So this is a really great test. It's called GI MAP Stool Analysis. So it really is great for anyone suffering from, IBS or body odor, digestive cramps, bad breath, even anxiety and depression, because, these autoimmune concerns as well, because it really maps any kind of overgrowth of any bacteria and parasites, because, they can really cause a lot of trouble for us. SIBO breath test is a breath test you take to measure if for certain kind of gases to see if you have an overgrowth of bacteria in your small intestine. So SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And it's a breath test that you do to measure how certain gases to see if it's elevated. If it's elevated, then that's highly likely that there is some kind of bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do to help with your abdominal bloating. So these are some things that we can start with, beginning with an elimination diet. We can do low FODMAP or a carnivore diet. We can try a high prebiotic diet or do an elemental or a semi-elemental diet. So we'll go more into detail about that. So elimination diet is probably the easiest diet because easiest to kind of adapt. You only need to do it for 2 to 3 weeks. So what you do is you're eliminating certain foods completely from your diet to see if it results in a reduction of your symptoms. So for example, a diet, that a lot of patients that sometimes I recommend is a gluten-free diet. So just stay away from all gluten-containing foods for 2 weeks so your body can kind of flush it out of the system and see if there is a improvement in the energy. It could be a sugar-free diet, for example, too. So elimination diet is something to kind of talk to a healthcare professional first so that you get the best guidance about it too, because we don't want you to eliminate everything, right? We got to figure out your triggers and then go from there. So probiotics and a prebiotic diet is, so difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic is that probiotics they're actually live microorganisms. So these are good guys, that's going to help our gut. They're going to help reduce the bloating. What prebiotics are, they are like the food for the probiotics, okay? So they're non-living, but they're digestible, okay? So they kind of, they are food for the friendly bacteria. So what you can do is, you can add prebiotics to your diet. So this is contained in foods like chicory root, artichoke, onion, leeks, garlic, dandelion, carrots, a lot of sauerkraut, a lot of fermented foods, kimchi, miso paste. Those are all really great for great prebiotics that can help feed the good bacteria in the body. And the FODMAPs. So FODMAPs are kind of like they are this range of foods that release or that kind of feed the bacteria just a little too well. Okay, so they cause the bacteria to release so many, gases or toxins and things like that cause a lot of the IBS-like symptoms. So these contain, things like foods that are high in lactose. So and then foods that are high in fructose, then high in fructans, and then polyols. So these are all basically kind of sugar slash, very, very little molecules that our body's having trouble digesting. And because it's not digesting, it's kind of laying in the gut, and the bacteria just kind of starts to feed on it, and then it starts to release the gases. So a FODMAP diet is something to kind of consider if you are really feeling like this is really affecting you, and it's something that you should talk with either myself or a nutritionist, Sabine, because it is a strict diet, right? You need support with how to go with it and how to function with it. So, and then benefits of liquid nutrition, so things like juicing or smoothies, is that it's quick, right? You make it and then you can easily take it at any time of the day. Because it's already in such a small, like it's already been blended, it's easier in our gut to digest it, right? It's small molecules. So it's better absorption of nutrients because of that. And it's a really easy way to load up on so many different nutrients that you might not be getting in your day-to-day diet. And of course, easy cleanup. You just drink it. You don't need to wash in plates and things like that. So it's a great option. I myself have been juicing lately, and I noticed a huge difference in my skin and my energy. So it's something to really consider if you're thinking of, you need to increase your nutrition. Another important thing is, of course, our nervous system, right? Our nervous system controls everything, and even our digestive system is controlled by our nerves, especially the vagus nerve. I love saying that because it sounds like Las Vegas. So the vagus nerve is this big nerve that goes from your brain, and it travels to your heart, it travels to your gut, it controls the movement of your bowels. So it has a parasympathetic tone. So what that means is it's most active when you're resting and when you're digesting. So that so really, healthy vagal tone means that you have good functioning of this nerve. So that means you feel more calm, you're peaceful, you have a good healthy heart rate. It's not too high, it's not too low. Blood pressure is good as well. Good digestion, good bowel movements, and you get that healthy blood sugar and body weight. Because when it's under functioning, you're not going to be able to have any of that digestive function. Your heart rate feels a little bit high. Your blood pressure gets high. You feel more anxious. You get, it's hard for you to sleep as well. So these are all signs to kind of see, do I have a healthy vagal tone? And, of course, come talk to me or Dr. Justine. We love talking about the nervous system and all these intricate connections that our body has. And this, I cannot stress enough. I think I tell this to all my patients. Make sure you go at least once a day, okay? Make sure you have a healthy poop, healthy bowel movement. And what I mean by that is, a nice, long, sausage-shaped poop at least once a day. And it's okay if you can't have it right now. I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you with this. So a healthy bowel movement actually happens 1 to 4 times a day, because ideally what should happen is as you eat, your body should be like maybe an hour or two should eliminate what you were holding on to. So in a healthier system, that's what should be happening. And of course, I know everybody these days might be having constipation or diarrhea because we're busy, we're doing work, and we're not really intaking enough fiber that can help increase these bowel movements. So why bowel movements is important is because that's one of the best ways our body detoxes, right? It is when as you poop, you're eliminating all the bacteria that you're reducing the amount of bacteria in the body. So it's like increasing the chance that decrease the chance that you're not gonna have a lot of gas and a lot of cramping. Poop absorbs the toxins. So once it's going out of your body, you're reducing your toxic load. It helps the brain calm itself too, because it's not kind of sitting there fermenting and releasing more gas. And improves your skin health immensely. Going to the washroom is so important for that. And chronic pain is reduced too, because like I said, right, it grabs all these toxins and it kind of goes and is eliminated. So having at least 1 a day is so important. And this is something, intermittent fasting can be really great for a lot of things, and for abdominal bloating as well. So this is a really great kind of an infographic that shows you what kind of different fasts to do. So I always say, when you're starting something, a fast or thing, come talk to us, because we can see how it's going to, be. Even do full day of low, so 24 hours.
Sorry, you're back. It's okay.
Okay, perfect.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, so like I was saying, sorry in case you didn't. Lowering the toxic load in the body as well. Okay.
I can hear you again. Don't worry.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So this is something, sometimes I do myself, and it's just a great kind of a detoxing way. But of course, you want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that works for your body. Yes. All right. So biotoxins are another. Think about this. This is what is released, from the bacteria, from the viruses, and the parasites. So biotoxins are really, they're classified as these harmful bacteria, harmful parasites, harmful yeast. So mold and yeast. A lot of Lyme disease can be caused because of the release of the toxins from the bacteria, viral infections, bacteria endotoxins. So these, if they sound too confusing, please come talk to me. I'd love to clarify for you, because certain people actually have a higher load of these biotoxins. Okay.
You're back.
Okay. All right.
I'll cut. Do you know what, Dr. Udani? I'll just cut it out. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you can start again, and I'll just cut out all the bad little sections.
Oh, okay. Was I going in?
Oh, it stopped again. We'll wait for you to unfreeze. You're unfrozen again.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I'm not freezing now. Oh, am I freezing again? Oh, I'm freezing again. Oh no.
Yeah, I think you did freeze again.
Oh no.
Now you're there.
I'm there? Okay. Okay. So should I just start from the biotoxin then?
Or you know what, if you want, we can continue on. I did get a little bit of the biotoxin. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me
Okay.
just.
Okay. So these are some of the ways that you can improve stomach acid. So this is something to, once again, I stress that come and talk to a naturopathic doctor or a nutritionist, because, we also don't want you to start all of them all at once and, and something adverse can happen. But what we can do is you can use liquid nutrition, so it's less stress on the body. You can use ginger. Ginger is a great herb that can increase the digestive juices. You can, stay away actually from hold off the water when you're eating. And then especially after a meal, maybe wait for like 20 minutes or so, and then, get yourself hydrated. You can use a lot of fermented veggies, so a lot of pickled things, sauerkraut, like I mentioned. Eat protein foods at the beginning of the meal so that it has more time to digest. Apple cider vinegar is really great too to increase your stomach acid content. And make sure that, like we want to protect that vagal tone, right? So eat your largest meal when you are most relaxed. So benefits of using probiotics. So probiotics are, just really fantastic. They're great anti-inflammatory. They help our immune system kind of stay calm. They protect against infections. They improve digestive health, help with nutrient absorption, even help with memory and, fatigue. So the thing is, there's so many probiotic strains out there. And, sometimes some of them might be less effective than the others. So it's important to kind of come and talk to me or a practitioner, because we want to make sure that you're getting a good quality probiotic that's going to actually help your concerns, because there's different strains that can have different effects. And a castor oil pack is really great to kind of help with the cramps. This is great for abdominal, but also for period cramps as well. So you can have, a compress. You can even use a towel that you don't mind getting kind of dirty and like discolored. And you just put, you can heat it up and you can put a little bit of castor oil on it, and then you place it all on your tummy, or and just watch TV or something. And you could put a heat hot pad above that, just to kind of increase the heat, so it helps digest, help it be absorbed more. This is a great thing to kind of try. Castor oil packs are amazing for reducing cramps. So activated charcoal. So this is something, of course, from Dr. Drucker's article. So I'll just touch upon it a little bit. It's a binder. So it binds to toxins and, excess kind of bacterial byproducts. And it can help kind of eliminate that from the body. And so this is actually can be used in a very regimented plan. So for example, in the beginning, we probably want to, increase the cleanse. So I term it as a cleanse, but we want to make sure the bacterial load is low, and then add in charcoal to kind of absorb that, die off bacteria, and then go from there. So I don't recommend you have this every day, because it can interfere with nutrient absorption. So this is something that's why you want to talk to somebody or do a little bit more research before, just going out and grabbing it. And of course, embarrassing gas, right? So everything we talked so far, the food sensitivities, the bacterial overgrowth, possible candida, so that's the yeast overgrowth, low stomach acid, all of these things can, down the road, lead to embarrassing gas. Because this is embarrassing gas, especially if it's a lot of odor, it could be a sign of bacterial overgrowth. It could be a sign of constipation too, because things are kind of stagnant, staying there. And sign of food sensitivity. So this is something, if you're noticing this a lot in your day-to-day life and you're not sure what's going on, definitely something to look into. All right, so that comes to the end of our talk. Thank you so much for joining. So just want to touch on our upcoming webinar. So we have cranial sacral therapy. It's a fantastic modality with Dr. Linda Finn and Dr. Justine. I'm going to be talking about sinus congestion And then we're having a spring clean, our body and our home. And we're doing a decoding the diabetes dilemma. So these are all exciting talks that are coming up. And of course, as always, please feel free to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube, comments. Your reviews are amazing. We always love to hear feedback about what we can improve on or any other topics that you'd like us to talk. So this is really, we'd love to hear from you.
So Dr. Udani, I wanted to thank you so much for this evening. I have learned an immense amount about why my tummy, does what it does and what really the reasons behind it, and then what I can do about it. And I really think this will help an awful lot of people. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you so much, Angela. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a great night, everyone.